World's first living robot can now reproduce, scientists say. CNN. The US scientists who created the first living robot say the life forms, known as genobots, can now reproduce, and in a way not seen in plants and animals. Forms from the stem cells from African clawed frog Genopus levis, from which it takes its name. Genopus are less than a millimeter, 0.04 inches wide. The tiny blobs were first unveiled in 2020 after experiments showed that they could move, work together in groups, and self-heal. Now, the scientists that developed them at the University of Belmont, Tufts University, and Harvard University Wyss Institute from Biological Inspired Engineering said they have discovered an entirely new form of biological reproduction different from any animal or plant known to science. I was astounded by it, said Michael Levin, a professor of biology and director of the Allen Discovery Center at the Tufts University, who was co-lead author of the new research. Frogs have a way of reproducing that have normally used, but when you liberate the cells from the rest of the embryo and you give them a chance to figure out how to be in a new environment, not only do they figure out a new way to move, but they also figure out apparently a new way to reproduce. The C-shaped parent genobot collect and compress loose stem cells together into pairs which can mature into offspring. Robot or organism. Stem cells are unspecialized cells that have the ability to develop into different cell types. To make the Genobot, the researchers scrapped the living stem cells from frog embryos and left them to incubate. There's no manipulation of genes involved. Most people think of robots as made of metals and ceramics, but it's not so much what a robot is made from, but what it does, which is act on its own behalf of people, said Josh Bongard, a computer science professor and robotics expert at the University of Belmont and the lead author of the study. In that way, it's a robot, but it's also clearly an organism made from genetically unmodified frog cells. Bongard said they found that the Genobots, which were initially spear-shaped and made from around 3,000 cells, could replicate. But it happened rarely and only in specific circumstances. The Genobots used kinetic replication, a process that is known to occur at the molecular level but has never been observed before at the scale of the whole cells or organisms, Bongard said. With the help of the artificial intelligence, the researchers then tested billions of body shapes to make the Genobot more effective at this type of replication. The supercomputer came up with a C shape that resembled the Pac-Man, the 1980s video game. They found it was able to find tiny stem cells in a petri dish, gather hundreds of them inside each mouth, and a few days later the bundle of cells became new genobots. The parent rotates a large ball of stem cells that is maturing into a new genobot. The AI didn't program these machines in the way we usually think about writing code. It shaped and scrubbed and came up with this Pac-Man shape, Bongard said. The shape is in essence the program. The shape influences how the Janobot should behave to amplify this incredibly surprising process. The Janobots are very early technology. Think of the 1940s computer, and don't yet have any practical application applications. However, this combination of molecular biology and artificial intelligence could potentially be used in a host of tasks in the body and the environment, according to the researchers. This may include things like collecting microplastics in the oceans, inspecting root systems, and regenerative medicine. While the prospect of self-replicating biotechnology could spark concern, the researchers said that the living machines were entirely contained in the lab and easily extinguished, as they are biodegradable and regulated by ethics experts. The research was partially funded by the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, a federal agency that oversees the development of technology for military use. There are many things that are possible if we take the advantage of this kind of plasticity and the ability of cells to solve problems, Bongard said. The study was published in the peer-reviewed scientific journal PNAS on Monday. Jesse Young in Hong Kong contributed to this report.